Welcome back to Baseline, where we break down what really happened. A 21-year-old tennis player just lost a match at Wimbledon and walked into the press room to do something nobody expected. She apologized, but not for how she played, for letting down an entire nation. And what happened next broke the internet in ways that said way more about us than it said about her. Let's back up. Eala is from the Philippines. For years, Philippine tennis had been waiting for a moment, not a good run, a real moment, the kind that stops a country. So when Eala started climbing the Wimbledon draw, families were waking up at 3 in the morning to watch. She wasn't just a rising star anymore, she was a phenomenon. Her name was everywhere. Strangers who had never watched tennis suddenly knew her serve motion, her fist pump, the way she looked at her box after big points. Flags were being waved. The weight of an entire nation was on her shoulders, and honestly, she was handling it. Then came the round of 16, a match against a former finalist. Over 2 hours of tennis, back and forth, everything on the line. And when it ended, it didn't end the way anyone hoped. Eala lost in 3 sets. Close match, the kind decided by inches. But when she walked into that press room, something shifted. The cameras caught her face in that moment after, and reporters sensed something different was coming. She sat down, and before anyone asked a question, she spoke. "I feel like I owe people an apology." The room went silent. An apology? For what? She had just delivered the best Grand Slam run of her career. She had beaten a champion. By any actual measure, this was a breakthrough. So why was a 21-year-old apologizing for competing at the highest level? She kept talking. She spoke about the people back home who had stayed up all night watching. She spoke about children who had picked up tennis rackets for the first time because of her. She spoke about the federation, the sponsors, everyone who had poured hope into her career for years, waiting for this exact moment. And then came the line that would end up everywhere within an hour. "I know how much this meant to everyone, and I'm sorry I couldn't finish it the way we all wanted." For a few seconds, nobody said anything, and then it was clipped, posted, shared. Within minutes, it wasn't just a tennis moment anymore, it was everywhere. People who had never watched a match in their lives were seeing this video. The pause before she spoke, the crack in her voice, the way she pressed her lips together right after, like she was holding something back. And the internet had thoughts. First reaction was devastation. Her supporters said she had nothing to apologize for. They were right, technically. She had just delivered incredible tennis. Losing a tight 3-setter to a proven finalist isn't failure, it's competition decided by centimeters. Fans started saying she should be thanking her supporters, not apologizing to them. One comment that went viral was basically, "She just made history and she's apologizing? We should be the ones thanking her." It made sense, it was logical. But then there was the second take, and it saw the moment completely differently. These people said this wasn't about guilt over a scoreline. This was a mirror held up to something bigger, the invisible contract young athletes sign the moment they become symbols of hope. Once you're carrying that weight for millions of people, a loss doesn't just belong to you anymore. It belongs to everyone watching, everyone hoping, everyone believing alongside you. In that lens, her apology wasn't excessive or strange, it was honest. A 21-year-old saying out loud what most athletes feel but never admit. Sports psychologists got pulled into it. They started explaining how young athletes, especially those carrying the weight of a nation's first real moment in a sport, tend to internalize outcomes as personal debts. It becomes less about competition and more about whether you've paid back everyone who believed in you. And suddenly, the conversation wasn't about tennis anymore. It was about what we as a society quietly demand from young people we decide to believe in. And then, like all stories that go viral, it got complicated. By day 2, new takes started showing up. Some critics said the media had taken her moment of vulnerability and turned it into a spectacle. They pointed out that outlets had clipped her quote out of context, a few seconds pulled from a much longer, more measured answer, repackaged to maximize emotional impact. Others turned their frustration towards the entire culture around her rise. Was it right, they asked, that a young athlete should ever feel she owed millions of strangers an apology for a loss decided by points? Some blame the intensity of public expectation itself, the flags, the predictions, the constant framing her as a symbol rather than just a competitor trying her best. Meanwhile, her team said almost nothing. That silence, instead of calming things down, actually fueled this story more. Fans speculated about whether she was being protected, whether there were internal conversations about managing the narrative, or whether they were just processing an emotional few days themselves. Then came the backlash to the backlash. Voices pushed back hard against the idea that her words needed to be corrected or explained by outsiders. Maybe, they said, the healthiest response to a young athlete being emotionally honest was just letting her be human without assigning blame to someone else. Threads about what she really meant racked up thousands of replies. Some fans went back to the full press conference, time-stamping the context around her comments, arguing that her words were far more nuanced than the viral clip suggested. Others dug into her history, pointing out that she had consistently deflected credit after every previous win too. This was just who she was. Through it all, Eala said nothing further. No follow-up statement, no clarifying post. Just her original moment being reshaped and argued over by millions of people who had never met her. And that's when the fuller context came out. Days later, when more of the press conference circulated, things looked different. Before she apologized, a reporter had asked her directly about what this tournament meant back home, about the messages she'd been getting, about the sense that an entire tennis-starved nation had put 2 weeks of hope onto her shoulders. It was answering that question that she arrived at her apology, not out of nowhere, not guilt over a scoreline. Her trying in real time to find words for a feeling most 21-year-olds are never asked to say on live television. The gap between what she'd given and what she felt others needed her to give. Read in that light, her words looked completely different, less like a confession, more like an act of care. She wasn't apologizing because she believed she had failed. She was apologizing because she understood, maybe more clearly than anyone in the room, how much of themselves other people had invested in her run. And she wanted them to know she felt that investment even in defeat. She wasn't crumbling under guilt. She was demonstrating emotional maturity that players decades older still struggle to find. The ability to hold both pride in her own performance and genuine empathy for the people who had hoped for more. Slowly, the conversation shifted. Fans reframed her words from heartbreaking to admirable. Commentators acknowledged that regardless of how the clip had spread, the sentiment underneath was entirely genuine. People close to her, her teammates and former coaches, described her reaction as consistent with who she had always been. Not someone who deflects pressure by pretending it doesn't exist. Someone who meets it head-on, even when meeting it head-on means saying something as unguarded as "I'm sorry" on the biggest stage of her career. There was no hidden scandal here, no controversy, just a young athlete in an unscripted moment, revealing exactly how much this run had meant to her, revealing how much she understood it meant to everyone watching. The heartbreak was real. The tears, hers and her fans, were real. The strength required to stand in front of the world and say something as honest at the exact moment it would have been so much easier to say nothing at all, that was real too. But maybe the real question isn't whether she owed anyone an apology. Maybe it's this: how much do we, as fans, unintentionally ask our favorite athletes to carry? And when they hand that weight back to us, the way she just did, are we actually ready to hold it? Are we ready to look at what we're quietly demanding from these young people the moment we decide to make them matter to us? That's what her apology actually revealed. Not guilt, not failure, just the size of the burden we place on athletes and how much it takes to carry it gracefully anyway.